Thanks for tuning back into the Conservation Podcast here at the Pike County Conservation District. My name is Emily. I'm the Communications Coordinator here at the district. And today's episode, I have George and Amanda here to talk about the Pocono Environmental Education Center, as well as environmental education in general. All right, I'm here with George Johnson, who is the Director of Group and Grant Coordination, and Amanda Subjan, who is the Chief Executive Officer at PEEC, or the Pocono Environmental Education Center. So thanks for joining us, George and Amanda.
Thanks, Emily.
Hello, good morning.
All right, so let's get started. What does PEEC stand for? I kind of already gave that one away. And where is it? And also, what is the mission or the purpose of PEEC?
You did a little give it away. Pocono Environmental Education Center is what PEEC stands for, P-E-E-C, and we are located in Dingman's Ferry within the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. So not far from the Conservation District office, but down in the heart of the National Rec area. Our mission is to advance environmental education, sustainable living, and appreciation for nature through hands-on experiences in a national park.
Awesome. Okay. So what are your roles at PEEC and what drew you there?
So for my role there, I do all of the initial bookings for our center. So a lot of our clientele are going to be school trips, more or less throughout the year. And it's my job to get them on our calendar and, fill up everyone's job plate.
Awesome. Yeah, there's lots of schools that come from all over, right? From the New York City area,
New
Jersey. And
we service pretty much the tri-state area, but we do have some very few schools will come from like Delaware, or we've had schools come from Vermont before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And George is really good at making sure that the schools that like coming to PEEC come to PEEC every year. And we have some who've been coming for over 30 years.
Oh, yeah. Some of our biggest long-standing groups are around, predate a lot of our paper records even, so.
Very cool.
So my role, I have the privilege of working with all of the amazing staff at PEEC as the CEO now at PEEC, but I started out there as Director of Development, so helping PEEC fund groups that wanted to come but didn't have the financial means to be there. Mm-hmm. So I've worked very closely with George on that, making sure when groups want to come, maybe from an inner city area and they don't have the financial backing or the busing, transportation is always a problem, that we could find grant funds to support them to come to PEEC. And we love that first initial kids getting off the bus. They've never been to the Poconos, they've never been to an education center in the woods, and they get to stay with us overnight in our lodging and have meals with us and go out on the trails and learn about the wildlife. So it's really exciting. Those first couple of minutes when they enter campus, and then later on when they're
wide-eyed and sometimes terrified.
A little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But by the time they're having that first s'more around the campfire, they're pretty settled in.
That's great. Yeah, that's so fun for the kids and for the teachers, too, to come and experience that. And that's awesome that you're able to support all kinds of groups with grant funding, So in your name, you've got environmental education, but how do you describe that exactly?
So I would describe that it's very much informal education where it is not based in the classroom. It's more or less, a lot of hands-on interactive activities. We're taking kids out on trails. We're looking for critters in the ponds. It's really all about trying to get everyone nice and acquainted with our local environment. And so it's not just learning what is this thing, it's why this is important. It's getting learning the value of it so that they can bring it home, and also with the overall goal to help them be more comfortable and advocate eventually for our conservation efforts.
Absolutely. I think that applies to the students who come to PEEC, but it also applies to the public and the community that has PEEC as a resource as well. We are open to the public, so we have 12 miles of hiking trails, and we offer year-round programming. Every weekend there's something going on. During the summer there's summer camp, So we do the same thing, environmental education focus, throughout the year for the entire audience of PEEC. It's not just formal curriculum-based state standards learning. It's also just providing that opportunity, like George said, for people to connect with nature, to form that appreciation with the goal of them taking care of the earth in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. So now that we know a little bit about what environmental education is, why is it important to you two, and how have you seen it shape the visitors who come to PEEC? That's seen in any of the kids that come, and then
Yes.
especially those kids that you get to see year after year. Summer camp is a great opportunity for that.
Yeah.
Our family camp weekends, where families have also been coming for decades. The kids grow up at PEEC. They have a connection to not just like the cabin they've always stayed in, but the places out on campus that they feel most connected to. So again, I think it's really just developing that appreciation for nature. That's what we see the most. The summer campers who really like own PEEC a little
yeah.
too much sometimes, but we love
Yeah.
them being so happy to be at PEEC, and they are the future of environmental protection. They're the ones that are going to drive the next conservation district staff, or the next DCNR staff, or working for the Park Service, or way up in advocacy and policy making. That's who we hope we're inspiring.
We have seen that too over the years. So for example, our weekend manager, Kate, went to PEEC as a summer camper back in like the 90s. And that's what jump-started her career into the environmental field. So it's really bringing it back like full circle almost.
That's so cool.
Pretty much like every conversation I have, somebody will say, "Oh, I went to PEEC on a
Yes.
field trip, and that was back in the 70s." And here they are at like a foundation level employer doing the work to make sure that what PEEC does continues.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know a lot of people also that have some kind of connection to PEEC, so it definitely is a big landmark in our community for sure. So you kind of talked about this a little bit already, but what role does environmental education play in natural resource conservation and positive change?
I think that the more we learn about our ecosystems and the way everything is connected, the more in tune we become with how our behavior impacts the ecosystems, our environment. And if we have small actions, we can be sure we have a bigger impact. So again, it's back to awareness and being in tune with what the earth provides for us and how things we do affect what it can provide.
Yeah, like we have a lot of school groups from like the Philadelphia region, and we focus heavily on like watershed education because all of the things that we do in our own county affect their water sources all downstream. So we really want to drill that importance of why it's important to help protect these resources, because it does affect them at the end of the day too.
Yeah, that's kind of bringing back the concept of we all live downstream, which is one of those mottos that talks about watersheds and how we're all part of a watershed. And sometimes it's hard to kind of conceptualize that if you can't see the river that your watershed is in. But everybody lives downstream of somewhere. So
That is so
Oh,
true.
yeah.
yeah. So we are very lucky here in Pike County to have lots of natural spaces in PEEC and all around outside of it. So what are some ways that people of all different ages and experience levels can experience environmental education and get closer to their local outdoors?
Well, at least for me, like from my own experience, I, as a kid, just started out just going in my backyard, rolling over logs, seeing what's there. And that's really the closest thing you can get literally to your house, just getting outside, exploring, being inquisitive. I collected slugs and had them in a little container and always wondered where they went when I checked on them the next day. But that's you know, some of the easiest, closest places you can get. Just go outside, see what's in your backyard. You can do birding from your house even, your front porch, your front windows. You just got to put up a little bird feeder with some seed. PEEC is also a great place to get started too, because all of our trails are easy to moderate. So you get the full gambit there of some introductory trails, very well marked, easy to follow. We do tons of programs too that vary in funds as well. So some are free because we have grant funding. Others have a little bit of a charge, but it's still not a whole lot. So those are great avenues, to get out there and start exploring, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's lots of free resources out there too now online and at the library. If you're interested in birding or seeing what's in your backyard or what you find at PEEC, you can find lots of stuff online from the PA Fish and Boat Commission and Game Commission for identifying what you find and learning more about it.
PEEC has been very fortunate to receive grant funding in the not so distant past to translate all of our interpretive trail guides into Spanish. So we're working towards bilingual information available online that people can download, but also when they come to PEEC, they can pick up an Espanol trail guide and use that to make their way around campus. And even if someone wanted to just learn about what is available at PEEC, you can download that. Like you're saying, George is saying, you can bird from your porch. You can take a trail walk from PEEC's website.
That's awesome. And that's really great to hear about the new translations coming out too. That's an awesome resource. So besides, we had already spoke a little bit about summer camp and the trails. So what are some of the main programs and projects going on at PEEC?
Well, recently coming up, we do have a Harvest Festival in mid-October. It's like a big kind of event that we're hosting. We'll have vendors there. I think we're doing the hay wagon this year.
Yeah, we'll have a hay wagon and pumpkin painting, face painting. I think there's also going to be food for purchase.
Yes.
So it's a big community day, $5 a carload. We like to be open to the community as much as possible.
We have some other programs going on too. We're coming up on the fall. Some of the other bigger ones are going to be some bird programs coming up on weekends. In the winter, we do cross-country ski and snowshoeing, weather depending. In the spring, some of our biggest programs are amphibian searches. Those always are very popular, where we're going out to look for the different frogs and salamanders that we have in our trails. Talked about summer camp already, and also during the summer we do a bunch of canoeing programs on our ponds, or we'll go spend a day on the Delaware River canoeing as well. So it's a lot of seasonality in terms of what we're offering, but a whole bunch of different things that are happening throughout the year.
I would say one of the projects that PEEC is most excited about is our new log cabins on wheels, which are our newest cabin additions, and they are available for people to come stay in. Our next family camp weekend is that same weekend of Harvest Festival. So if you wanted a staycation, you could come to PEEC and stay with us for a weekend. We have dining and lodging on campus. We can sleep from 3 to 300 on campus at one time. And also our dining hall seats around 150 people at one time. So meals are available. If someone would be interested in a staycation, come stay close to home, come to PEEC, enjoy the festivities that weekend, and also stay in one of our nice cabins.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw the cabins last time I was at PEEC, and they look very nice and cozy, so definitely have to check that out.
They still have that new cabin smell, too.
So when people are at PEEC or exploring in their backyard, how can we make sure that they're doing that safely and responsibly?
I always advocate strongly for a couple things. Most of the safety things that you do are things before you even start heading out. So it's making sure that you are researching where you're going, the type of trail that you want to go on, how difficult it might be. Make sure you're prepared, so water, snacks, rain gear, things of that sort. And speaking of rain, you want to check the weather too, because that will change willy-nilly, sometimes overnight. So you always want to make sure you check the weather. I'm okay with walking out in the rain. Other people may not be okay. And even when you're on the trail, I always advocate to more or less know what your limits are and be willing to turn back if necessary. So even though all of our trails are, again, easy to moderate, there are some steeper sections to some of the trails. So you have to be willing to evaluate while you're mid-trail take stock of where you're at, how you're feeling, and then you have to basically kind of, I don't want to say suck up your pride, but it kind of is that, where you might have to make the decision to turn back because the trail ahead of you is looking a little too rugged.
Yeah. I know the Tumbling Waters Trail took the wind out of me a little bit going up that steep slope.
Oh, yeah.
But it's totally worth it, and there are some nice rocks to sit and take a break on and eat a snack on your way up there as well.
I would say, too, that when the building is open, which is every day from 8:30 to 4:30, there is a trail register where you can sign in and get information from our very friendly staff about the trails and what ability level you think you have.
Yes.
And then we do have trails that suit all abilities, so you could bring a stroller and enjoy our trail for everyone, or take that adventure out on Tumbling Waters, like you said. It's uphill both ways. There are some great views and a waterfall.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that PEEC is located in the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, which is part of the National Park Service. So is PEEC a part of the National Park Service?
That's a really good question. A lot of people ask us that. Because we are within the park doesn't mean that we are the Park Service. So PEEC for the last 52 years has served as the education partner for the NPS through the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. PEEC is a nonprofit. And I always love to make sure people hear me say that, because it comes right along with the next question, where they often ask, well, how are you funded? And because PEEC is a nonprofit, the majority of our revenue comes from group sales and people coming and staying at PEEC, the programming that we offer. Our bookstore sells a lot of great fun things for exploring the outdoors. And then the remainder of the revenue comes from grants and other funding sources. That includes donations from private individuals as well as foundations and other businesses in our area. So as much as PEEC is lucky to be operating on the grounds of the National Park Service, we are funded by our own dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So you work closely with the Park Service, even though you're not the Park Service yourself. And then what are some of the other partners that you work alongside?
We have quite a plethora of groups that we work with. As we've already talked about, the teachers and school districts who we work with are pretty core to what PEEC does. And George is very good at working with all of those teachers to make sure their field trips are arranged. We have a program planner who makes sure that their daily agendas are set up for what the teachers and the students really need. The administrators, of course, make it happen. So the school districts we work with are key. The scientists and professionals that we work with to deliver programming are also important to what PEEC does, and we have a lot of great partners in that way. The staff is one thing, but I don't think we would get any much further if we didn't have our core group of volunteers. Volunteers are critical in the nonprofit sector. We rely on them for a variety of things. And then we also have scouts, the scout leaders who arrange for badge fests and talk about what they need from PEEC to deliver to accomplish those badges are important. We have a lot of community leaders who we work with to provide them with opportunities, and other youth empowerment projects. We have like universities come and do pre-term visits and stay with us. We have fellowship where people come from throughout the watershed and work with us. Internships, as you know, there are opportunities at PEEC that just go beyond the typical business partners and spill into the community in so many different ways.
Yeah, as Amanda kind of alluded to, I had the very fortunate opportunity to be an intern at PEEC before starting here at the Conservation District, and so that was an awesome opportunity. And now I get to work with PEEC at the Conservation District as well, because one of your partnerships is the Pike Wayne Conservation Partnership, which we're in as well, and so that's a really fun thing to be a part of. And through that, George was one of our Science on Tap speakers earlier this spring and did a really great trivia program, so we're really glad to have you as one of our partners. So you had said that some of the people who come to PEEC year after year with their families or summer camp have special places or activities at PEEC that are really close to their hearts. So what are some of those favorite places for you who work at PEEC?
I have made it my personal goal to try and steer as many people away from hiking tumbling waters to hike our scenic gorge trail, because that's my favorite trail.
Mine too.
Oh, me three.
It's a staff favorite for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, that little, for those of you who haven't hiked Scenic Gorge before, it's a red trail. It's about 1.5 miles. Within the trail itself, it takes you through a little hemlock ravine area, which is my favorite spot on our campus. It's a unique habitat that's completely different from everywhere else on our property. So that is by far my favorite place down there, and it's also less traveled than some of our other trails too. So if you're looking to really get out and get away from people, highly recommend you check out that one.
100% agree. Scenic Gorge Trail by far. I have fond memories of teaching summer camp back in the late 90s, and that trail was the key place where we would bring the wet and slimies, the 3rd and 4th graders, to catch frogs and to really connect with it, roll over rocks and look at the macros. It's a really natural, scenic place. So if you can't get there, download the trail guide and you'll learn all about what you're about to see. Another cool place at PEEC that people are surprised to find is our eco zone, which is inside. Yes. It is a converted indoor pool that, because it became dysfunctional, we got grant funding to make sure that it could be an educational space. So it has a walk-in beaver lodge where you can learn about our local beavers. It has a walk-in or crawl-in bat cave, which is really cool to learn about those habitats. And then a variety of different sustainability and wildlife and geology exhibits that talk about the different natural history here in the Poconos.
Yeah, that's awesome. So my favorite trail is also Scenic Gorge, and we were really lucky to get to do our Conservation District Week celebration hike on that trail this past May, and we got to look in the stream and get the public involved with some hands-on macro sampling, and we found lots of cool critters.
Awesome.
And like you said, the trail guide has lots of information in it too, so even if you can't get out on the trail, that's a great way to learn. And the eco zone is super cool. I love the Beaver Lodge, and I also love the Build-A-Bear. There's some nice bear bones that you can get to put together and figure out how you build a bear skeleton, which is really awesome. And
the only one there is, the Build-A-Bear is the only one
yeah,
that exists.
it's very clever. So you had said it was an old pool. So why is the pool there? What's kind of the history behind PEEC before it became this environmental center?
So for those of you who may know about the Tox Island Dam project, and the reason why the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area exists as a Park Service unit is because it was to be dammed, the river, the Delaware River, was to be dammed for a hydroelectric manufacturing plant. And that did not happen. So in the 70s, when the buildings were all there from an old honeymoon resort, the clever folks who were working at Keystone College and some very important political figures in our area came together and had this idea to turn it into a residential environmental education center. So since 1972, PEEC has been there as a residential ed center. The cabins that were honeymoon cabins were turned into bunkhouses. The dining hall that was there serving the guests for the honeymoon resort turned into basically a cafeteria-style area, and the main clubhouse became PEEC's main building. So the indoor swimming pool is one of those things that are the creative and clever way of turning infrastructure into something useful beyond its life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Repurpose everything over there, and you can... If you look closely enough, you can still see some of those honeymoon haven signs or, chimneys and walls on our trails. And one of the cabins at least still has a whole the Roman style, walk-in shower. You don't see those anymore.
And even before it was a honeymoon resort, it was a hunting and fishing camp.
Yeah.
So some, like George is saying, there's chimneys and old structures in the woods. And those are from even before Honeymoon Haven. And even prior to that, there are relics of the Native American settlements that used to be where we call PEEC now. So we're very fortunate to have the Lenape be the original stewards of where PEEC is based.
Yeah, definitely. So there's lots of layers of history there to discover at PEEC as you walk the trails and in that main building as well. So we know that both of your favorite places at PEEC are Scenic Gorge. But what's the coolest thing that you've seen while at PEEC? Any cool critters or natural phenomena?
Ooh, there's so many cool critters.
So true.
I know, right? For me, I would say, I am a big fan of the creepy crawlies, the bugs and the insects. For whatever reason, our staff entrance for our dining hall just collects stick bugs. And I love them so much. And we always have praying mantids in our gardens too. What else do we have? We have, of course, normal wildlife stuff like bears, raccoons, deer, things of that sort. I've seen porcupines in our trees. That was pretty neat once. A lot of salamanders, like northern red salamanders, spotted salamanders, slimy salamanders.
Mm-hmm. George is definitely very good at identifying the wildlife that is seen on campus. There's no shortage of it. Being within the 77,000 acre Delaware Water Gap, we have access, even though our 30-some acre campus is where we're based, we have access to the trail system and the Delaware River. So you can imagine that corridor is home to a variety of wildlife. We're also really fortunate to have a pretty intact forest system.
Yeah.
And the plants, that's my passion, is forestry. The plants there are pretty unique in that some areas are undisturbed and others there have been pine plantations. And there are things that you wouldn't normally find in the woods, old landscaping from the previous inhabitants. There's a lot of different things that you can find that are interesting that don't exist in other places. So one of my favorite memories is the alders on Front Pond, which Front Pond is a very happening place. We have beavers out there. There's a bird blind out there. Kids come and have their first experience canoeing out there. We go macro hunting. We do look for frogs, a lot of frog catching, a lot of pollywog viewing. But one of my favorite plants out there are the alders, which is not a common thing to find in our area. But along waterways, it's more common than not. And last March, my kids were out there flicking the catkins and making the pollen clouds come out. And it was one of those educational moments where it's like, why does it do this? And what is that going to result in? So now my son Zebin will say, oh, I remember that. And that's how it pollinated the other part of the plant. So the light bulb goes on for people all the time at PEEC.
That's great. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff. I know I've seen pitcher plants at PEEC, which you don't get to see a lot of places. Those are some pretty cool carnivorous plants. I've seen weasels that I haven't really seen anywhere else around here. But I have not seen a porcupine yet, and that is definitely on my bucket list for sure.
I've seen two, actually. One was in the middle of a night when I was hiking a trail. Don't recommend that for the general public. The other one, actually, I was driving up Briscoe Mountain Road, and our Tumbling Waters Trail crosses the road over there, and then I saw it crossing the road, and there it went, up the tree.
That's the same place I've seen rattlesnakes.
I've not seen those yet.
We do have rattlesnakes, and
I've
there
heard
are copperheads in the
other
area.
people have reported them, but I personally have never seen them.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Rather unseen. Just know they're there. Just a caution.
Yeah. Yeah, so lots of cool things out there.
Absolutely.
So we know that there's lots of public programming. There's the Harvest Festival coming up. So how can the public get involved with PEEC, with volunteer opportunities?
For volunteering, we do have a volunteer coordinator. That would be Kate Hausman right now. You can always, feel free to send us an email, give us a call, and we'll get you connected with Kate. And in terms of, different opportunities, we really try to work with you to see what you want to do, to see what your certain skill sets are, so we can match that with kind of what our organization needs at that time. So that could be anything from, if you like gardens, like Amanda, and plants, you could be weeding in the garden. You could be, we have volunteer trail stewards that come and maintain our trails. We can get you connected with them. So it's really, anywhere and everywhere, and no sky's the limit sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. So lots of different ways to get involved. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I think it would be great for people to visit our website, peek.org. We just updated that last year, this year. It was newly launched. It also has bilingual capabilities, not just Spanish, but almost 7 different languages or more. So please distribute that website. It has resources, but also our program calendar, which what we mentioned earlier, we have programs year round. So if there's something you're looking for, you can check out our calendar, but feel free to give us a call at any time. Stop in, take a trail hike, just come and wander our building. The Eco Zone is often open at least once a month on the weekends. You can come, you can picnic at PEEC, you can make a day of it, or find a weekend retreat or workshop that you'd like to come and stay with us.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know anything about PEEC, everyone's more than welcome to stop by. We have information about the larger Delaware Water Gap too, so we can get you connected to really tailor make your day and your experience, because we all want people to come away with a pleasant day and really feeling the connection to our local environment. And part of that can be with us. Other parts could be with other people. We don't really discriminate right there.
Yeah, we were fortunate that folks like you at the Conservation District are proponents for protecting the natural resources, and there are a variety of us in this area between the agencies and also the nonprofits who really have the same goal of protecting our natural resources. So nobody should really be vying for the attention. It's really just, where can people go to connect with the outdoors?
Yeah, like you said, we're really fortunate to have lots of people working towards the same mission in this area. So there's lots of opportunities at PEEC, and we've also got some of our other partners on our website, so you could check that out under our About tab on pikeconservation.org. PEEC's website is on there, as well as some of the other local groups that have hiking trails and other environmental education opportunities. So thank you, George and Amanda, so much for chatting about PEEC and all the ways that people can get involved with environmental education. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and your expertise.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Conservation Podcast here at Pike County Conservation District. If you enjoyed this episode and want to find more, you can find past episodes and new episodes. Our Season 2 episodes will be released monthly starting January 2024 on our website, pikeconservation.org, under the Education tab, or on Spotify. To stay in touch with us and find out more about our upcoming events, newly released podcast episodes, and tips and tricks for conservation at home, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and sign up for our email monthly newsletter, which you can find the sign up link at the bottom of our website, pikeconservation.org. Thanks for listening.